So you read the title correctly. I actually think that probably even more than 90% of the market will lose money in this cycle, because I'm seeing a lot of people already falling for some stuff that is leading them or will lead them into that fatal flaw or trap of following blindly, you know, some of these crypto principles that are just wrong, okay? And these are principles that I've taught many times on this channel, and I will shed light on them again today to enable you the chance to avoid falling into the 90% or even 95% of the crypto market where they will likely lose money in this bull run. It's hard to fathom. How do you lose money in a market where most projects will make at least a couple multiples? Well, again, they don't follow the same sort of principles. But while there's probably 100 core principles, I really do believe that, you know, will lead people into falling into that category. I actually want to cover what I think are probably the most important in this video. So look, again, the goal today is to teach you something new. And all I ask as a favor in return is if you learn something new or enjoy the video, to drop down there right now, leave a like, and hell, maybe even subscribe so you can achieve your crypto goals. So I made this video last night touching on a new project called Wormhole, okay, and why I bought 10,000 or thereabouts of the token recently. Now, this got a lot of criticism, and it's going to touch on the points I want to make in this video, but you have to understand, first of all, why I received the criticism. It is part of the doctrine in crypto to just, you know, blindly follow influencers, and unfortunately, even some of the big boys, and I looked at a recent Coin Bureau video, and he still talks about this stuff as if it's true, when it's not. It's following FDV, fully diluted value. It's also following the fact of tokens entering into circulation. Basically, today, we're talking about tokenomics, and it's not boring old tokenomics. Well, it might be for you TikTok brain guys who just want to know what coins to buy and when, but this is a principle everyone should know, because if you know this, you can find out yourself whether a coin truly is worthwhile buying, or whether, no matter how good it sounds on paper, how good the tech is, if the tokenomics are crap, then it's probably not a good investment, okay? Because tokenomics will impact the price undeniably, okay? Now, I don't want to really dig into the exact situation of that video, but this video itself spawned from that video. So in order for us to get an idea of what I'm talking about here, I want to take you through a couple comments. Keep these in the back of your mind as I explain to you, you know, throughout the course of this video, what I'm talking about. So then you can begin to go, that was maybe something I thought of. So I'm not throwing shade at any of these 5 or 6 people individually here. This is just to give you an idea. I mean, again, a lot of people were liking these comments, mind you, of maybe what you're possibly thinking of in the back of your mind, okay? So we had one gentleman say, well, Kyron, you know, Wormhole's already valued at 10 billion. Again, this falls into the fully diluted value section, right? It's about 9 to 10 billion FDV. Hard to imagine this will go very high. Too many good projects which look outstanding and promising on paper at the moment, okay? So he's saying, no, the FDV is too high. Another guy said 1.8 billion tokens in circulation out of 10 billion, and the market cap is already 1.8 billion. I got to be missing something. This guy says, never buy a token with only 18% of the supply unlocked. I don't care what you say about it. You're trusting the devs with 82% of the supply. The market doesn't dictate the price. The token unlocks do. So already, these guys are basing the quality of Wormhole based on the amount of tokens left to be unlocked. But you can see the fatal flaw already starting to form here. Before I get into any of the actual stats, again, Wormhole aside, this applies for every project, they're basing everything on the token unlocks. I mean, you can, or at least what CoinMarketCap is saying is to unlock, not even the vesting schedule, all right? This is going to lead a lot of you down a path where you only look for altcoins that have a very, very small supply with a lot of the tokens left in circulation. And there is a big problem with that inherently, which is the fact that in crypto, there's no actual such thing as a true supply shock. There is if an actual business comes and buys 1 billion of the tokens, sure. But as for everyday crypto investors, if you spend $1 and buy Wormhole now, you can buy 1 Wormhole tokens. But when Wormhole goes to $10, you buy a fraction of that. You buy 0.1 Wormhole. So you still put $1 in the market only moves up theoretically by $1, and yet you're not actually buying 1 Wormhole token. Different with shares, and this kind of falls into FDV. A lot of people are looking at these principles in crypto, bracing it and bringing it over from traditional markets when they don't actually correlate at all. Another guy said, no way, very inflationary by Pendle, Near, and Render, best cryptos in the bull run. This is no project for me with a big supply in comparison to price, max $5.78 in bull run top. So this person's saying the price will only pretty much 5x from the current price. And lastly, these billion-dollar blockchains at release are crazy. Now, the rest of these, right, all of these will kind of group into basically the same sort of answers. But for this one, I do want to say, as a side note, that when you're looking at a project that launches at a few $1 billion, that's because it's had funding that has supported a diluted value, that's because it's had funding that supports a valuation of, roughly speaking, what it launched at. So it launched at a 2.5 billion market cap valuation, and that was supported by a massive funding round of $225 million. Keep in mind, most projects at best, typically have a $25 million funding round. So this is one of the rare projects that had a massive funding round. So a multi-billion dollar initial starting capital might sound crazy, but that's actually completely normal, again, depending on what's happened behind the scenes or previously. So notice we've had a lot of these people saying, well, FDV is quite bad, right? Fully diluted value on Wormhole is, $10 billion. The market cap right now is, $1.7 billion. That's quite bad. There's a lot to be diluted still. Well, FDV is an almost useless metric for us investors. And I say almost because there's one little situation where you can use it, but it's pretty well pointless in of itself, right? It ignores the vesting schedule and doesn't even account for inflation. So all FDV actually says is if at the current price, what would the market cap have to look like if all of the tokens were in circulation? This is pointless because what you're saying is, oh, forget about the vesting schedule, right? Forget about that. What if all the tokens came into circulation today? Well, what happens if all the tokens were unlocking over a 100-year period? That's not going to apply, okay? And I'll show you an example here in a second. If I made a coin tomorrow with 10% of my tokens in circulation, okay, so 100 million Chiron tokens were in circulation, at a market cap of $1 billion, the FDV would be 10 billion, okay? So that's probably going to concern some of you guys, right? But like I said, what if these tokens were emitted over a 100-year period? It wouldn't matter at all, okay? All the FDV does is find the market cap if the price were to again remain the same and all of those tokens were entered in circulation. So the only use case for this is if you were working out worst case scenario. Again, you can't rely on this number at all. I always laugh when I see people point at this as if it's something useful. It's not. You have to look at the vesting schedule, okay? I'm not trying to point fingers and say you're silly for believing that. This is a learning lesson. This is something I've only learned myself over researching. I wasn't inherently born with this knowledge, okay? So I don't want anyone to feel dumb here. I'm just trying to, tell you all with, a sort of apparent urgency to this. Like, guys, we have this bull run here, right? We have one of the last true, massive blow-off top bull runs, potentially. The bull runs diminished their value over time. So we can't be falling for the doctrine. Again, Coin Bureau, all these people still talk about this like it's true, like it's facts, but it's not, it's fiction, alrighty? So here's a prime example for you all. On November 1st, when Celestia launched, okay, its price was $2.26. It had 17.5% in circulation, or 175 million tokens, at a 300 million market cap. So the FDV was 2.26 billion, or a 7x from that current market cap, okay? So given the circumstance that everyone would typically apply to a coin like this via the FDV, well, then you would ultimately say TIA is a bad investment. But as we know from that price, it 10x'd very shortly after, okay? It literally 10x'd in a few months. So again, you can't look at FDV as any indication because Celestia isn't going to have all their tokens entered into circulation yesterday, okay? This happens over a vesting schedule, which is why we have to look at that. So with the situation of Wormhole, right? Yesterday I made that video with a price of $1. 18% is in circulation, okay? With a 1.8 billion market cap, at least then it was. So the FDV is $10 billion. So that's actually less multiples to achieve the FDV price, which everyone likes to again point out, which means technically it's better. It was a better investment on paper than Celestia. So please, I hope that makes a bit of sense. That kind of touches on FDV, right? So what's the underlying concern here? Is it the fact that, well, the FDV is quite high, or the market cap itself for Wormhole is quite high? Well, it's 1.7 billion, Kyron. It's too high. It's out of reach for me. Celestia was 300 million market cap back here, right? Well, it can't be because the people in those previous comments were saying to buy Render and Near Protocol that are 2, 3, 4 times higher in terms of market cap. So they're talking about FDV, okay? And so I just want you to know, again, the price multiplied by the supply is required to find the market cap. So we're going to use this information to take it up a notch here in a moment and not look at FDV. Again, FDV works out the price multiplied by what the future market cap, future supply will be to work at the future market cap, or FDV. We're going to use this to again disprove another myth here in a second. But before we do, I want to tell you all, first of all, when it comes to analyzing a project like Wormhole, this is going to be a lesson for all. And this next few minutes here is what you should do for all of your projects, hand down, period. Whether you love it or not, whether you own it currently or not, you got to apply this right after this video to all of your altcoins. So we've ironed out why FDV is a load of BS, and ultimately is. I'm happy to go on record and challenge anyone on that. But what actually matters is, again, the distribution and investing. These two things work hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. So in theory, if you insist on working out the FDV, I would say if you're going to work out any FDV, so future value of the market cap of the project, then work it out from when you're going to sell your project at when you think you're going to sell and worst case. So for me, I said in that wormhole video last night, I anticipate to sell 12 months, which will be April 2025, which is when I believe the bull run will likely be sizzling off, and or I will have my 10 to 15x on all of my altcoins. That'll be done and settled. So I'm out of the market. Whether the market goes up for another 6 months, I don't give a shit. I might play around with $10,000, $20,000 here and there, but I'm not risking my actual, gains for that extra few multiples I might make. So I might take it out in the next 12 months. But I think worst case, the market will definitely be over by August next year. And so at the average case, we're going from 18% today in supply to 27.5%, and at worst case, 49%. So if you're going to work out FDV from these two levels here. So what you would do in that case is just very simply get the price multiplied by these two levels. So again, that's $1 times 2.75, which is 2.75 billion. Okay, very simple. And worst case, it'd of course be 4.9 billion. But again, FDV is only useful in that case. In the particular case, you're trying to work out ultimately what FDV does is work out the dilution that is coming ahead. Okay, how many tokens are still to come out, and how that might require an influx of capital. But again, hold that thought, because that's going to blow your mind here in a second with what actually is the underlying cause of that. Because what you'll find here, again, not to jump the gun too quickly, is that when tokens are unlocked from the vesting schedule you can see behind me, they're added to supply and the market cap goes up, but you're not having the person sell that on the open market. Okay, what they're doing is actually being held in the hands of the people that are receiving those tokens over the course of time. So that might confuse you. Just ignore that a little bit there. And I guess what I'll do is touch more on that momentarily here. So let's talk about now, we've spoken about the vesting schedule, but what about the distribution? This is, again, works hand in hand together. Unlocks themselves don't decrease the price. Again, it's only when the tokens are sold by the recipients. So who are the recipients? Because, for example, you might have, let's say Chiron Coin again, okay? Chiron Coin might have, 100 million tokens in circulation, let's just say. Okay? And then let's say Chiron Coin unlocks a further 100 million tokens. But those 100 million tokens aren't instantly dumped on the market, therefore decreasing the price. They're given to me as an entity, Chiron, myself, over the counter. They're just like a vesting schedule. They're given to me. Well, theoretically, if Chiron Coin was valued at $1, okay, that would mean that I'd be given whatever that is, right? $100 million worth of Chiron tokens, okay? Therefore, that would increase the market cap by $100 million. The price would remain the same. It wouldn't go up or down, but now I would have access to 100 million Chiron coins worth $100 million. If I sold those on the open market, absolutely, it would tank the price. If I bought more on the open market, it would increase the price. But again, remember moments ago how I said to you all that the way that FDV is worked out is by price times the supply. Price is only ever worked out by these things, right? The markets. So it aggregates all of the markets together. All of these prices, you see these prices ever so slightly change depending on the exchange and the pair. Well, on average, that gives us this price. So this price up here multiplied by the supply is the market cap. So going back over here, if I receive these tokens behind the scenes, it's not going to change a single thing, okay? Because markets haven't been impacted, only the supply has increased. Therefore, the market cap will increase. But again, it's just because there's a new issuance of tokens available in the supply. When the economy prints new tokens, when the US Treasury, Department prints a whole bunch of US dollars, that doesn't instantly tank the price. Your guys' value of the dollar would be worth nothing these days. It pretty much almost, it's getting that way, right? But it's what happens when that news hits the open market and the Forex markets and other such areas of the economy, they deem the value of the dollar to be worth less, so they sell it for another asset. Or they sell it, if it's a Japanese yen versus, or the yen versus the dollar, they'll sell dollar into yen and therefore increases the strength of the yen. So this is what I'm sort of saying, it's the same thing for crypto. So when they add new tokens to the market, it does nothing to the actual price unless people go, oh shit, I better sell my tokens now because that seems bad. So let's circle back here quickly to, of course, this situation with Wormhole and notice that the people who have access to their tokens immediately, there's only 3 entities. the foundation, treasury, ecosystem and incubation, and community and launch. Now, immediately, what you got to do in this case is go ahead and have a look at the website description for each of these entities. So you go to somewhere like tokenomics, scroll down, work out who those entities are. You can see here community and launch. You can have a little description of who they are, ecosystem and incubation, and also foundation treasury. Now, we look for third parties on this channel. Third parties are people that might sell at any given moment. There's no sort of, hey guys, we're going to be spending some tokens here to benefit the ecosystem like the foundation treasury would, okay? No, these are people like core contributors, for example, or people like the community, okay, like airdrops, which it had an airdrop. These people are incentivized to sell. By far the worst people for this are the airdrop recipients, which is why Wormhole's price, just like Celestia sort of, well, not really, definitely like Pith, had this sort of moment where it came down initially after launch, and because people like the airdrop holders decide to sell their tokens. These are paper hands. They got free tokens. They want to make a quick buck. And investors, for example, like we come back over here, the core contributors, these guys have set multiples. They're investing in the project for a set amount of multiples, usually between 5 to a 10x. And mark my words, they will sell those tokens when they get the chance, but they don't have paper hands, okay? They're not going to be like some of these typical investors like you and I, retail, basically. So ultimately, that's all we have to be concerned with these three entities. And again, the only people we have to be concerned about is the community and launch, who did receive 11% on launch. Okay, so they got most of it, hence why the market dipped. Now, if we're looking to sell past our 12-month target over here, so that's all we have to be concerned with. And again, I'm not concerned at all. It's about, what did we say before? About, 2.7 odd billion tokens. But if we decide to sell, anything past April, May next year, we have to be concerned with these new entities you can see issued over here. So we have to figure out who these participants are. Come back here. Again, core contributors is one of them. Work out how much they actually get on that unlock, and then begin recalibrating from there. But this is all things that you should be doing for each of your altcoins. And we can take Optimism and many other projects as a prime example of this. These guys literally unlocked over 2x of their supply instantly last year, okay? They more than doubled it. And what happened? Well, before the actual event, we had a sell-off. This is retail anticipating a dump, okay? So retail, like you and I, feeling scared. That's what happens before. On the day, from the open, this is a 4-hour candle chart, right, by the way, so this is a whole entire day in green here. But what happened is it actually pumped, and the close itself wasn't too far off. And this is mainly because, again, retail continued to dump. But if you actually bought down here, you would have made some quick money, okay? So from open of that day to close of that day, we only lost 3.4% from doubling the supply. We then went up, okay, as people thought, oh, the worst is over. Okay, again, people naively believing that this was the actual sell-off when, again, these people didn't even have their tokens at that point. Then we went sideways, basically, and then we had the sell-off, accumulation, and then we came back up again. Why did we have the sell-off? Well, because the people who are having the tokens unlocked for Optimism were actually third parties, were actually investors. But of course, investors aren't going to be selling immediately on the day. They decided to sell over here. Okay, this was again 7 days up, like 10 days sideways, so a good 2 or so weeks later. And then they sold. Okay, they took their profits. But if these entities that had their tokens unlocked were not the third parties, okay, if they were just, the ecosystem funding, for example, this wouldn't have even happened. This would have done this. It would have moved sideways. Okay, so keep that in mind. It depends on not only how much of the tokens are unlocked and when, but who they're going to makes a massive difference. And one thing I'll quickly touch on as well is the example of a price prediction for like Celestia using this information. So let's pretend none of this happened over here with Celestia, and let's go back to 11th of December last year, where the market cap for Celestia was $1.5 billion and the price was $10. Now, if you had a look at the supply and thought to yourself, well, at that given time it was about 175 million tokens in circulation up over here. And, I'm going to sell my tokens in roughly, 15, 16 months, 18 months, where the supply will be about 625 million. Well, what most, influencers do, if they're any half decent, well, they'll go to themselves, okay, so I expect Celestia to probably 10x in terms of the market cap, which again is a made-up number, and then I'm going to throw on the supply at that point in time. So what they'll do is very simple, okay? They'll go, okay, well, if we simply 10x the market cap at this point, which again is about $1.5 billion, so we have about 15 billion at the time I want to sell, divided by the supply, which is how you work out future price, $24. Well, okay, so I'm not going to buy Celestia because Celestia, is going to about 2.5x. So why would anyone want to buy Celestia down here if the max price it's probably going to go to is $24? Well, again, if we just simply factor in what actually happened, a few months later, right, literally once this, about 11th of December to 12th of February, like 4 months later, it hit $21. Okay, so you would have missed very easy gains if you just followed that same BS doctrine that most people fall into. Yes, this is a recent study and a recent realization of mine myself, like in the last 4 or so months. So I'm not like throwing shade at people here. I'm just saying like I'm trying to shake you here and wake you up. You have to look at the tokenomics, guys. You can't just, look at the dilution at some point in time and think to yourself, well, what's the rough market cap? No. Because when these tokens come into circulation, again, if they're instantly given to me over the counter, it's not going to impact the price. All right, if it's given to me over the counter or if it unlocks in a vesting schedule like this, doesn't matter. All right, if it goes to people who are likely to sell on the open market, any of the people that decide to sell on any of these markets, the price tanks. If Celestia came to the venture firm that we own, right, the no BS venture firm, Beyond the Vault Capital, and they said, hey guys, we're going to give you 1 billion tokens. We're going to 10x the supply overnight and give you guys all a bunch of tokens, but they gave it to us over the counter, it wouldn't impact the price at all. It wouldn't go up, it wouldn't go down. If you didn't know about it on the open market, right, the public never knew about it, price wouldn't move an inch. Price would not move an inch. If we then got those tokens and sold, then it would impact the price. But what you would know is that the market cap would actually increase because there's a new issuance of tokens. So guys, that's going to cover today's video. I hope you have enjoyed. And again, not trying to call out anyone individually here. This is a very, very potent, knowledge to have. If you're armed with this, you won't be one of the people who ignored Celestia, and didn't get that, extra capital. Or again, if you just look at FDV, this is going to challenge your mindset. So I open discussion in the comments below because the way we all grow and learn is together. I'm not fighting you. You're not fighting me. At least I hope you're not, right? So I'm just trying to provide my insight on the market based on my knowledge. So again, let's help each other out. That's all I think that people have to come back to at the end of the day. And if we can all be millionaires, wouldn't that be bloody pretty good? It won't happen though, so pay attention. All right, guys, take good care. Talk to you soon.